Now let's talk about paternalism. A paternalistic action is an action that interferes with a person's autonomous decision for that person's own good. So we can use a couple of examples to illustrate paternalistic actions. Imagine again that you're flying, you've got your laptop stowed away. Left to your own devices, if you had to leave the plane, you would take the laptop with you. But unbeknownst to you, the pilots know that they're going to need to make a crash landing. They want to inform people and give them enough time so that they can get off the plane safely after it lands and brace themselves for impact. At the same time, they don't want to cause panic and chaos. So they withhold information about the crash landing until the last minute. And you don't have time to grab your laptop when you leave. This is a case of a paternalistic action. It's a case in which the pilots, for the good of the passengers, are interfering with their decisions, with their choices, by giving them limited knowledge in order to prevent chaos on the airplane and people potentially getting more hurt than they need to. The pilots withhold information about a crash landing until right before it happens. You might have different feelings or mixed feelings about this. We're trading off values. One is the safety of the passengers versus the autonomy of the passengers. But it certainly feels different than the example that we talked about in the last video. It feels different than the case where the attendant just wants to save money for the airplane, so she doesn't tell you about the alternative meal. Imagine a structural engineer discovers problems with one of his designs. If the weather is bad enough, an office building that he designed and helped construct will be destroyed. The engineer feels confident that weather won't get bad enough to cause a problem anytime soon. He feels like it needs to be fixed, and so he informs other people in charge of the building of the problem. They decide not to tell anyone about it, but during the evening when nobody's in the office building, they'll construct. The building will undergo extra construction, which will fix it and cause it to be safe. A second engineer is troubled by this. He thinks that the occupants of the building deserve to know that there's a risk. So in this case, we have an act of paternalism. The first engineer wants to withhold information from the occupants of the building in order to keep them from panicking. And let's be honest, a lot of it is to keep them from discovering his mistake. And so, in our first example, the actions of the pilots, the paternalistic actions of the pilots, maybe you can raise some questions about it, but it seems justified. On the other hand, in the second example, the actions of the structural engineer seem much less justified.